Hello, welcome to Dmitry the Coach, our weekly talk. I'm Dmitry, and today I'll be talking about why I don't coach doctors. You may ask right away, why am I picking on doctors? Aren't they doing great jobs, saving lives, and helping people? And they certainly do. Do doctors even need coaching? Well, many doctors think they don't need coaching. Coaching can accomplish a range of things, from helping people get unstuck and get where they want to be, to somebody who already lives a satisfactory life to achieve greatness and realize one's full potential. So, doctors possess a unique combination of traits that make them great at what they do and make them effective within the realm of medicine. And the same traits may not be helpful outside the walls of the medical castle and medical establishment. Also, are doctors really happy? Well, let me put it this way. Many hospitals have adopted policies that sound like disruptive physician policies or toxic physician policies, something like that. So, if everyone is so happy, why adopt those policies? So, are doctors unique in their traits and attitudes? There is a Yiddish proverb that says, everyone is kneaded out of the same dough, but not baked in the same oven. So, even if you're not a doctor, keep watching and you may find some traits and attitudes in yourself that the doctors have. And if you're a doctor, also keep watching because you may gain some insights into what's going on. And also get some ideas how to handle different situations. So, before we continue, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube channel, you like and subscribe. If you're watching this talk on Facebook, like Dmitry the Coach page. Also in the description to these videos, you can find links to the website and also to add yourself to the mailing list so you can get informed of the new videos and what's going on. And with that, let's start the talk. So here you can see a chart, doctor's attitude comparison chart. It's by no means comprehensive. I just put there the most common attitudes that doctors have and also the attitudes that make doctors often different from the rest of the world. Of course, not always, but that's what's more typical of doctors. So you see a column with doctors and the alternative attitude that may serve one better outside the medical world. And the last column is you. So as we go through this talk, you can follow it and make a note of where you fall along these lines. So let's see. Let's talk about the first item on the list. We'll go item by item. So the first item on the list is career path. Well, it's not exactly an attitude, but the nature of a doctor's career path makes an impact on the thinking process. So typically, doctors have a narrow career path. It is sometimes even called train incapacity when it comes to alternatives. So doctors put all their eggs into one basket and do their best to be their best to get trained in one specialty and sometimes even a very narrow field in that specialty. And that makes them dependent on that path, and it makes them dependent on the system that holds them in check and not letting go. If they want to make any changes in their career or modification, I would argue that people in most other careers have a broader path. They have more opportunities for lateral moves, and even if they want to retrain in something, they can do it in a shorter time and more easily often. By the way, doctors have more transferable skills than they realize. And because doctors stay in that narrow path and go deeper and deeper, they are often afraid of everything that can jeopardize their career and their lifestyle. That's why our next item is fear and intimidation. And certainly, doctors don't always show fear. After all, doctors often make life and death decisions. When it comes to other areas, they can be pretty scared. Doctors depend on licenses, bosses, secretaries who can take away their ability to practice medicine. Yeah, they have to be very careful and not be fired, because that becomes a track record. So they can't really so often fight for themselves. Again, that because of that trained incapacity, doctors are afraid if they lose that career path for any reason, the only alternative would be to flip burgers. And another aspect of it is doctors achieve a good lifestyle and become dependent families. They have kids in private schools and all that, nice houses, and again, they are afraid of corporate bullies that these days own medicine to just take it all away. And finally, doctors are afraid to get help with mental health. A lot of doctors are depressed, but again, when it comes to doctors' mental health, there is no privacy. They have to tell on the applications for credentialing about all their mental health history. And if somebody has substance abuse or something, then if it becomes known, that can certainly damage their career. So a lot of doctors suffer quietly and afraid to seek help. And last but not least, of course, doctors are afraid of lawyers, because lawyers sue doctors. So, fear and intimidation. And then the next item is risk tolerance. That's in many ways connected to fear and intimidation, because if you are afraid, you won't take risks. And the first thing that comes to mind is practicing defensive medicine. It's just like practicing defensive driving, not taking risks, because can get bad outcomes or get sued. That, however, spreads through other areas in life, and risk and reward are directly proportionally. If there is no risk, there is no reward. Making changes in one's life, if you want to change something you're not happy about, move forward, is often risky, and it feels risky. So if you don't take the risk, there is no reward, you are stuck in status quo. However, taking a risk, not taking risks, actually, is risky as well, because errors of omission can be as bad as errors of commission. They just don't feel that way. It may feel safer to do nothing, but it also could also be missing out on something. And of course, doctors are afraid to make a mistake. So that's understandable that they're used to low risk tolerance. And speaking of mistakes, yeah, mistakes and failures are common in life. The question is how one handles it. So, is it acceptable or unacceptable? Well, you don't want your doctor to make a mistake, do you? And again, that's a natural attitude common to medicine. A lot of time, effort, and money are spent on error prevention. Medical errors are a huge issue. To this day, a lot of people die, a lot of patients die every year because of medical mistakes. But that's the medical field. If you look outside medicine, however, mistakes and failures are inevitable, and not just inevitable, they're desirable, because mistakes and failures provide learning opportunities. If you don't make mistakes, then you won't learn anything, you won't move anywhere. And the mistakes are the other side of risk taking, because if you take risks, if you risk something, of course you hope for the best, but things don't work out all the time. You may think you're making mistakes. Well, some people believe you can't make a mistake, actually, because you do the best given all the information you have at the time. So you just take action, get a certain result, and then you evaluate the result and adjust your future actions. You don't go back and say, oh, I made a mistake. You just made a decision, not a mistake. If you don't do this, you'll be stuck. So, and then if you're afraid to make mistakes, you may be a perfectionist. And perfectionism is quite common among doctors. Again, if you're a patient, you want your surgeon to do a perfect job. And you want the best outcome. And your surgeon, as a doctor, wants to do a perfect job also. Well, however, it's not easy to survive in the real world being a perfectionist, because better is the enemy of good. And if you want to move anywhere in life and make progress, done is better than perfect. Otherwise, you could be sitting there and perfecting things. Collaboration. Well, you may think, don't doctors collaborate? They work with teams and in teams. There are nurses, other professionals, support staff, and it's all true. However, many doctors have this attitude: if you want things done right, do it yourself. They are often not happy with anyone. They criticize their staff and chew them out, feel disappointed that things are not done their way, get angry, sometimes disruptive. And I'll talk about it a little bit later in this talk, where this all comes from. This collaboration is important. And actually, many doctors do a great job collaborating with others. As I said, traits are not unique, and it's just a common trait among doctors, but it's not unique, and many doctors are good collaborators. What's important about collaboration is when somebody is getting coaching, because a coaching relationship is a collaboration by definition. It's a partnership between the client and the coach, and that's the only way to achieve results, collaboration. Let's go to the next one. Uncertainty and ambiguity. Well, would you like to be certain that those pills you just got from your doctor will work as intended and not kill you? Your doctor would like the same. However, outside the medical field, uncertainty and ambiguity are unnecessary, and many successful people thrive on that because it creates opportunities. I'll quote Carl Jung. He was a famous psychiatrist. He said, "If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's." So uncertainty and ambiguity are a normal part of life. Work culture. Well, work culture is something that affects doctors a lot. Unfortunately, work culture, especially in many hospitals, is hostile. It's a culture of finger pointing, blame and accusation. Where it comes from, it's something for another talk. Perhaps it's the fear of lawsuits, because people don't want to be blamed and named in lawsuits, so they would rather pass the buck. Another possibility is the nature of business. After all, people are dealing with sickness, with diseases, with a lot of unhappiness. However, this attitude, this whole expectations of a hostile environment can affect how people view the world outside their workplace. And even in the workplace, hostile environment doesn't make a great business or make company or help it survive long term and thrive and get good results. So now we are coming to a very important part of this talk, and it's energy. It's at the bottom of the chart, and this is this is something that's the foundation of everything I've talked about so far, and I'm going to talk about. And so if you're still with me, congratulations, because now this is the most important part. And it's not some woo-woo, even though I'm going to talk about energy. I'll explain in a moment. Let's just keep in mind for the time being that energy attracts like energy, and that's how things work. Let me show you something. This is a This is a chart. It's energetic self-perception chart. It was developed by IPAC, Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and it talks about different energy levels, also known as perspectives, also known as levels of self-awareness. If you ever become a coaching client with an energy leadership coach, coach trained at IPAC, this chart will be the foundation of your work with that coach. You'll learn the terminology, what it all means, and how move through different levels of that chart. And so this is a kind of a complicated chart, and it's beyond the scope of this talk. I just want to direct your attention to the inner circle in this chart, the central portion. It says self, and then there is this darkest circle around it. That's a circle of self. So it's important to know that people who are experiencing the perspective, the energy within that circle, they tend to react rather than respond, and they feel something is lacking in their lives and they need to fill the void. People often don't consciously respond to life events around them, and the energy present in that circle is called catabolic energy. I'll explain what it means in a moment. So the catabolic energy, as opposed to the outer parts of the circle that give more and more anabolic energy. So let's talk about catabolic energy now. Well, catabolic energy is a destructive form of energy. It happens when people are under stress. So stress hormones are released. They, as we know, can damage your body, and they are not helping you long term to be effective in your life. And in that chart that I just showed you, there are two levels. There are two ways of experience that catabolic energy. So the most inner circle is the level 1. It's the energy of a victim that leads to apathy and lethargy. I'll tell you what people say who are experiencing this level, and I'm sure you'll immediately recognize people around you, or maybe sometimes yourself. So, for example, people say, "Oh, I always lose, I have no choice, there is nothing that can be done, nobody values me around here." People experience a lot of powerlessness, worry, guilt, anxiety. They often have a low self-esteem, they can't make a decision, they can talk to peers of, let's say again, back to doctors, a lot of doctors have this talk with each other, the shop talk, and they vent and they complain, and then they go back to the status quo. So they often feel like victims, and they often focus on the problems and feel things are out of their control. And that's the first level of energy or perspective or level of consciousness. And again, people react, they don't respond consciously, something happens to them, and they immediately thrown into that mode. And the second level of that catabolic energy, also destructive energy, is energy of conflict. So it's characterized by anger and defiance. Usually, if the first level of energy is I'm a loser, I lose, and the second is the level is the angry level. It's I win, you lose, my way or highway. And people usually say everyone sucks. There are idiots around me. There are all these people in my office. They don't know what they're doing. They always screw up. Well, speaking of angry doctor or disruptive physician, also some people feel entitled to act like this, and they have a lot of pride. Pride is also characterized with this catabolic energy of conflict. Say, oh, I went through an Ivy League medical school. Who are you to tell me how to do my job? People focus on what others have done wrong, and when things don't go their way, they walk around disappointed in others and in the rest of the world. So this frustration and struggle, need of control, aggression, do it my way, I don't have time to explain to you, I know better, just do it. It's your fault, not mine. And if they do something others don't like, they say I'm completely justified with what I've done. So that's the level of energy, and it can go on and on and on. It can be condescending, full of sarcasm, judgmental. Well, I'll stop here. I'll just say the end result is a burnout. So if you know of physician burnout, well, you can imagine this type of energy, constant conflict. Even if you don't show it, the conflict can be inside you. You can pretend you're okay, but the conflict inside you. So that's the catabolic energy that is holding people back until they start getting out of that type of energy. And the opposite of catabolic energy is the anabolic energy, and I won't spend a lot of time right now. I'll just say that's the creative energy, the energy that builds and moves you forward. Also, it's the energy that's stress free, unlike the catabolic energy that produces stress. This is a path away from stress, and it leads to higher life satisfaction in anything, from personal life, professional life, financial success. People usually have more anabolic energy when they're happy, satisfied, and successful. Um, so here is one more time. I'll show you the chart, so you'll remember. And there is an assessment that can measure different levels of energy that you can experience on any given day, because everybody experiences different levels of energy. I just mentioned the first two. And this assessment is called ELI assessment. And there is an article in Forbes magazine. It was published a few years ago when they mentioned, let's say, 11 assessments every executive should take. It was put together by the Forbes Coaches Council. So I'll quote from that article. The Energy Leadership Index Assessment provides a unique lens on self-awareness and emotional intelligence, two key ingredients for any leader. I would add everybody is a leader, even if you don't consider yourself a leader. It's any person. So it says also, understanding where you are at any moment and how you respond to stress can make all the difference. And that's called ELI, Energy Leadership Assessment. This is what it's called. And if you want to learn more about this assessment, you can find it on Dmitry the Coach website. You can see the chart there, so you can examine it in more detail, and also there are explanations of other levels of energy on the website, so you can learn more for yourself. I'll show you. If you go to Dmitry the Coach website, under assessments, you see right the menu in the middle. That's the first item, energy leadership index, and you see the explanation there. It's a long assessment. You fill out the questionnaire, then it's followed by a debrief by coach. So to help you interpret what the assessment shows. And also, since we are on the subject website, you can see there two other assessments: physician career assessment and Am I Coachable? Those are quick assessments with instant results that you can fill out and find out. The physician career assessment was initially made for physicians looking for a career transition or career expansion. It works for essentially anyone because it helps you quickly see where you are and how open you are to change in general. It doesn't have to be career change. And the last one, Am I Coachable? Well, it's an even quicker assessment so you can gain some insights into your attitudes, if you're ready for coaching or not. I'm not saying it's coaching by Dmitry the Coach, it's just in general, to see where you stand. And so we are about to wrap up this talk. So, are doctors coachable? That's a good question. As a matter of fact, many doctors are coachable, and many doctors do have a coach and they get good results from coaching. However, many doctors may pose a challenge to a coach. All those who may need coaching and they are not aware, well, unless something happens and they become open and aware, well, they can be coached. You can't force anyone into coaching. And by the way, a way out of catabolic energy toward the anabolic energy, which would be the more outer circle on the chart, to the level 3 energy and perspective, is to start taking responsibility for your emotions, for your reactions, because that self level and the next 3 levels are called self-mastery for a reason, because the self, well, ego, it's called ego. It's like weak ego because it's people are needing something and they pursue it without realizing it, so they're just reacting. And once you start taking ownership of your reactions and emotions, that's the first step out of it. And that's the first step that starts adding anabolic or creative energy. So and that leads to making conscious choices about life and everything that comes your way. So, as usual, make sure you like and subscribe. You can like Dmitry the Coach on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, add your name to the list, and you can visit website Dmitry the Coach, where you can see the chart I talked about, different levels of energy, different perspectives, and you can take those quizzes and assessments and see where you stand. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.